The Galactic Council Hall was silent. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in their high-tech seats, their reptilian, insectoid, and avian eyes fixed on the lone human standing in the center. Captain Elias Graves, dressed in a simple military uniform, clenched his fists as the Grand Speaker's voice echoed through the chamber. As a sign of goodwill, the Council has decided to gift humanity a warship. We welcome you to the galactic stage. May you use it wisely. A massive screen lit up, revealing the ship they had given humanity. The moment Elias saw it, his stomach twisted with anger. It was a wreck. The ship, once a proud battleship, was now a rusting piece of metal, covered in scars from old battles. The engines were barely functional, its weapons stripped away, and its hull was cracked beyond repair. It was an insult, nothing more. Laughter erupted across the chamber. Is this all the humans are worth? A blue-skinned reptilian alien sneered. They will probably break it more. An insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles, causing more laughter. Elias didn't react, but inside, rage burned through him. Humanity had fought for decades just to earn a seat at this table. They had struggled, bled, and sacrificed to prove they were equals. And now, the so-called gift was nothing but a joke. Elias turned toward the Grand Speaker, his voice calm but firm. We accept your gift. The laughter faded slightly. Some delegates looked confused. We will take this ship and make it ours, Elias continued. And soon, you will regret underestimating us. The chamber fell into silence. The Grand Speaker's expression darkened, but he nodded. Very well, Captain Graves. Do as you wish. Elias turned and walked out, his mind already racing. This wasn't just about a broken ship. This was about proving to the entire galaxy what humanity could do. The first look. 2 days later, Elias and his crew arrived at the docking station, where their gift awaited them. The ship, now officially named Nemesis, floated lifelessly in space. The closer they got, the worse it looked. Lieutenant Sarah Carter, the chief engineer, whistled. Well, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Commander Darius Cole crossed his arms. I've seen abandoned space hulks in better condition. Elias ignored their remarks. He knew what the Council wanted. They expected humanity to fail. They thought this ship would break them. They were wrong. Let's get to work, Elias ordered. The crew boarded the ship. The inside was just as bad as the outside. Flickering lights, broken corridors, and leaking pipes. The main systems barely responded. The AI core was completely offline. It was clear someone had deliberately sabotaged it before handing it over. Sarah ran a quick diagnostic and shook her head. Half the systems are missing, and the other half are useless. This thing should be in a scrapyard. Not anymore, Elias said. This ship is going to be our greatest weapon. Darius raised an eyebrow. How? We don't even have working shields, let alone weapons. Elias smirked. Because we're human, and humans don't give up. The first discovery. As the engineers worked, Sarah found something strange in the ship's core. Hidden deep within the system was an encrypted data file, marked with a warning. Do not open. Classified QNCL Of course, they opened it. The moment Sarah cracked the encryption, the ship's main AI system powered on. A deep, ancient voice filled the ship. Identification required. Elias stepped forward. Captain Elias Graves, commanding officer of the Nemesis. There was a long silence. Then the AI spoke again. Captain Graves, you have awakened something that was never meant to be found. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Explain, Elias ordered. The AI hesitated before answering. This ship was once the most feared warship in the galaxy. It was decommissioned, not because it was obsolete, but because it was too powerful. Elias's eyes narrowed. The Council does not want you to rebuild this ship, the AI continued. Because if you do, the balance of power will change forever. Elias smiled for the first time since stepping onto the Nemesis. Then let's get started. The moment the ship's AI finished speaking, the crew fell silent. The weight of its words settled in their minds. This was no ordinary wreck. This was a legend, a weapon so dangerous that the Galactic Council had chosen to bury it rather than destroy it. Elias Graves exchanged a glance with his officers. He could see the mix of shock and excitement in their eyes. Identify yourself," Elias commanded. A brief pause, then the voice responded. "Designation, Aegis. Primary function, tactical warfare and fleet command. Secondary function, strategic planetary assault. Classification, restricted by Galactic Council Order 77-9. Sarah let out a low whistle. "That's military grade A. No more than that. This thing was built for war." Darius frowned. "But why give it to us? If the Council knew this ship was dangerous, why not just destroy it?" The AI responded immediately. "Galactic politics. Destruction would have drawn attention. Disarmament was a quieter option. Your species was deemed insignificant, making you a perfect recipient." A slow burn of anger crept into Elias's chest. "So, they thought they could humiliate us by giving us a ship too broken to fix." "Affirmative." Elias clenched his fists. They made a mistake. The first challenge. The crew wasted no time. With Aegis operational, they had a guide through the ship's labyrinth of broken systems. The engineers scrambled to restore basic power, while the officers worked to decipher the ship's full capabilities. Sarah pulled up the power grid. Reactors running at 12% capacity. It's a miracle it hasn't shut down completely. "Can we boost it?" Elias asked. "Not yet. We need a jump start. The core is ancient, way beyond anything we've seen before. Standard human tech won't cut it." Aegis spoke again. "Alternative solution. Scavenge lost systems. This vessel has emergency supply caches hidden within its structure. Accessing records now." A new map appeared on the screen. Multiple locations lit up, marking sections of the ship they hadn't explored yet. "Looks like we're going treasure hunting," Darius said with a smirk. The forgotten arsenal. The first cache was deep within the ship, behind sealed bulkheads and collapsed corridors. Elias led a team through the wreckage, clearing debris as they went. The deeper they ventured, the colder the air became. It was eerie, like stepping into a graveyard of forgotten history. Sarah finally reached a control panel. "Let's see if we can get this door open." She reactivated the access system, and the massive steel doors groaned as they slid apart. The room beyond was dark, until the lights flickered on, revealing racks of weaponry, armor, and strange technology. Darius let out a low whistle. "Well, that's not standard council tech." Elias stepped forward, examining one of the weapons. It was sleek, covered in strange markings, and pulsed faintly with blue energy. He had never seen anything like it. "Aegis, what are we looking at?" "Experimental weapons, designed for Nemesis-class warships. Plasma disruptors, gravitic torpedoes, and an unfinished hyper-compression cannon." Sarah's eyes widened. "These are prototypes, cutting-edge tech the Council never deployed." Elias grinned. "They didn't just give us a broken ship. They gave us a weapon they were too afraid to use." Darius nodded. "And now it's ours." Elias picked up one of the smaller plasma rifles, testing its weight. It was surprisingly light, yet he could feel the raw power humming beneath its surface. "We rebuild this ship," Elias declared. "We restore its power. And when the time comes, we show the galaxy exactly what humanity can do." The warning. Back on the bridge, Aegis suddenly interrupted their progress. "Alert. Incoming transmission detected. Galactic Council relay. Priority level. High." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, revealing a tall, stern-faced alien, the same grand speaker who had handed them this gift only days ago. "Captain Graves, The alien said, voice cold, "I trust you are settling in with your new vessel." Elias remained calm. "We are. It's quite the gift." The Grand Speaker's gaze darkened. "Do not test us, human. That ship was given as a gesture of peace, not as a tool of war. You are not authorized to reactivate any of its restricted systems." Elias smirked. "Oh, and what happens if we do?" A pause. Then the Grand Speaker leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Then you will not live long enough to regret it." The transmission cut off. Silence hung in the air. Darius exhaled. "Well, that sounded like a threat." Sarah scoffed. "More like a challenge." Elias turned back to the main display, where Aegis was waiting. "How long until we're battle-ready?" "Estimated time. 3 weeks with optimal resource acquisition." Elias nodded. "Then we'd better get started." He stared out at the stars, determination burning in his eyes. "Let them come. We'll be ready." The warning from the Galactic Council was still fresh in Elias's mind, but he had no intention of stopping. The ship, Aegis, was far more than they had imagined. It was a war machine built to change the fate of entire civilizations, and now it belonged to humanity. The crew worked day and night, restoring systems, scavenging technology, and unlocking hidden compartments of the massive warship. Every piece of advanced weaponry they uncovered only confirmed what Elias already suspected. This ship wasn't meant to be decommissioned. It was meant to be feared. But fear worked both ways. The test run. Deep in the void of space, Aegis drifted, its hull still bearing the scars of abandonment. Elias stood on the bridge, watching as Sarah and Darius ran final checks on the newly restored power grid. Reactor output at 45% and climbing. Sarah reported, her fingers flying across the console. "Not enough for full combat mode, but we should be able to fire up some of the weapons." Darius smirked. "Good. I say we test them out." Elias gave a nod. "Aegis, do we have any targets in the area?" The AI responded immediately, confirming. "There is an abandoned asteroid mining facility approximately 3,000 kilometers from our current position. It has been inactive for over a decade." "Perfect," Elias muttered. "Let's see what this ship can do." Firepower awakens. The Aegis moved sluggishly at first, its engines still adjusting after centuries of neglect. But once they reached the asteroid field, the real test began. "Loading plasma disruptors," Sarah announced. "Target locked." Elias took a deep breath. "Fire." The ship shuddered as twin beams of pure energy shot forward, slamming into the abandoned mining station. A moment later, the entire structure exploded into a cloud of fire and metal fragments. The crew exchanged stunned glances. "That was just a test shot?" Darius asked. Sarah checked the power levels. "And that wasn't even at full output." Elias grinned. The ship wasn't just operational, it was deadly. "Aegis," he said, "prepare the railguns." The AI complied, and within seconds, the massive cannons along the ship's hull powered up, their targeting systems locking onto the larger asteroids in the field. Firing. A sudden thunderous boom echoed through the ship as the first railgun shot was fired. The impact shattered an asteroid the size of a small moon, sending debris flying in all directions. Darius let out a low whistle. "If we can get this thing fully functional, no one will be able to stop us." Elias nodded, but deep down, he knew the council wouldn't just sit back and watch. They would come, and soon. The hunter arrives. As if on cue, an alarm blared across the bridge. "Incoming vessel detected," Aegis announced. "Signature matches Galactic Council patrol frigate. Estimated arrival, 2 minutes." Elias stiffened. They weren't ready for a full battle. Not yet. "Can they detect us?" "Negative. Our energy signature is still weak. However, if they get closer, they will scan us." Sarah's fingers hovered over the control panel. "We could power down and go dark. Let them pass." Darius crossed his arms. Or we could send them a message they won't forget. Elias exhaled, thinking fast. The council had already warned them once. If they saw Aegis active, they wouldn't hesitate to call in reinforcements. We play it smart, Elias decided. Go dark. Let them come to us. The crew acted quickly, shutting down non-essential systems and masking their presence as best as they could. The ship drifted silently in the asteroid field, looking like nothing more than a dead hulk. Minutes passed. Then, through the viewport, they saw it. A sleek silver council frigate, scanning the wreckage of the mining facility they had just destroyed. Elias watched closely. If they detected anything unusual, the situation could turn deadly fast. The frigate hovered in place, sending out scanning pulses. Then, after a long moment, it began to move away. Darius exhaled. Looks like they bought it. But before anyone could relax, Aegis spoke again. Alert. Secondary patrol vessel detected. Stealth class. They are not leaving. Elias's stomach twisted. The council wasn't stupid. They had sent a second ship, one designed for ambush and espionage. And it was still hunting them. The decision. Elias clenched his jaw. Options. Aegis responded instantly. Maintain stealth mode and wait. Or eliminate the threat. The explosion of the Council's stealth ship sent shockwaves across the asteroid field, debris scattering in all directions. But the crew of Aegis didn't have time to celebrate or regret their decision. Aegis, status on enemy communications. Elias demanded, his voice calm but firm. The AI responded instantly. No distress signal detected. Enemy vessel was eliminated before transmission could be sent. Darius let out a low chuckle. That's what I like to hear. Sarah, however, didn't look as pleased. That doesn't mean we're safe. The Council is going to notice when their ship doesn't report back. Elias knew she was right. They had bought themselves time, but not much. The Galactic Council wasn't known for patience. The first response. 15 minutes later, the alarms blared again. Multiple vessels detected, Aegis warned. 3 Council warships, inbound at high velocity. Estimated arrival. 5 minutes. Elias's hands tightened into fists. They didn't waste any time. Sarah paled. We can't fight 3 warships. The Aegis isn't fully operational. Darius cracked his knuckles. Maybe not, but we can make them regret coming here. Elias turned to the AI. Options. Stealth is no longer viable. Engaging in direct combat would be high risk. Alternative. Tactical retreat. Elias shook his head. Running wouldn't solve anything. The Council would keep coming. The only way to stop them was to make them fear Aegis. No retreat, he said firmly. We fight. Sarah hesitated but nodded. Then we'd better come up with a plan fast. Turning the trap. Elias studied the asteroid field around them. A plan formed in his mind. Risky, but their best shot. Aegis scanned the asteroid belt. Are there any large unstable formations? Confirmed. Several high-density asteroids are at risk of collapse if impacted. Elias smirked. Good. We're going to turn this battlefield into a minefield. Darius grinned. I like where this is going. Sarah, program a few remote charges and attach them to the biggest asteroids. We'll detonate them when the Council ships get close. Sarah got to work immediately, sending out small drones to plant explosives on the floating rocks. Meanwhile, Aegis adjusted its position, keeping the warships in its sights. The battle begins. The moment the Council ships entered the asteroid field, Aegis powered up its weapons. Enemy vessels scanning the area, Aegis reported. They have not detected our presence yet. Elias's eyes darkened. They will soon. The lead warship, sleek and heavily armed, moved cautiously between the asteroids. Then, just as it reached the trap, detonate the charges. Sarah hit the trigger. A series of explosions ripped through the field. Massive asteroids broke apart, sending thousands of tons of debris crashing into the Council ships. The lead warship took a direct hit, its shields flickering violently before they collapsed entirely. Darius whooped. "Hell yeah, that's one down." The second and third ships dodged the worst of the destruction, but now they were scrambling, trying to maneuver through the chaos. "Aegis, fire railguns," Elias commanded. The ship responded instantly, unleashing high-velocity projectiles at the damaged warship. The shots tore through the hull, splitting it apart in a series of chain explosions. One enemy ship remained. It turned sharply, now fully aware of the danger it faced. "Enemy vessel charging weapons," Aegis warned. "They are locking onto us." Elias smirked. "Let them try." The final strike. The Council warship fired. A bright energy blast streaked toward Aegis, but the ship's enhanced shields absorbed the hit. Sparks flew across the control panels, but the damage was minimal. "Returning fire," Aegis announced. Aegis unleashed a full salvo, plasma disruptors, railguns, and ion cannons. The enemy vessel had no chance. The final shot ripped straight through its core, igniting the reactor. The last warship exploded. Silence fell over the bridge. They had won. The aftermath. Sarah let out a shaky breath. "We just destroyed 3 Council warships." Darius grinned. "Correction. Aegis destroyed 3 Council warships. And now, they know we're not just some relic." Elias exhaled. He knew what came next. "Aegis, calculate the odds of additional reinforcements arriving." "High probability. The Council will not accept this loss. More warships are expected within the next cycle." Elias turned to his crew. "Then we prepare, because the real war is just beginning." The aftermath of the battle left a haunting silence in the asteroid field. The remains of 3 Council warships drifted lifelessly, their once imposing forms reduced to nothing more than scattered debris. Aegis had won, but the victory was temporary. Elias stood at the command console, his fingers pressed against the metal surface. He could feel the weight of their actions. 3 warships destroyed. The Galactic Council wouldn't ignore this. Sarah broke the silence. "We need to leave. Now." Darius crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. "Running isn't going to help. They'll chase us to the edges of the galaxy." Elias exhaled, his mind already racing through possibilities. "We're not running." Sarah blinked. "Then what's the plan?" Elias turned toward the main display. "We send them a message." The warning. Aegis's eye, ever efficient, processed the command instantly. "Message transmission prepared. Specify content." Elias's gaze darkened. "Broadcast this on all open Council frequencies. You sent your warships. You thought you would crush us. But now your fleets burn, and your wreckage floats in the void. We are no longer relics of the past. We are the nightmare you cannot escape. Come for us again, if you dare." Darius let out a low whistle. "That'll piss them off." Sarah, still anxious, shook her head. "It'll do more than that. It'll bring their full force down on us." Elias met her eyes. "Good. It's time the Council knew that humanity won't stay in the shadows anymore." The AI confirmed. Message transmitted. Galactic Council fleets will receive it within minutes. And now, all they could do was wait. The response. The answer came faster than expected. Multiple warp signatures detected. Aegis announced, red warning lights flashing. Council reinforcements inbound. Estimated fleet size. 12 warships. Sarah cursed under her breath. 12. We barely survived 3. Darius cracked his knuckles. "I say we take down as many as we can before they realize we're not an easy target." Elias didn't flinch. He had expected this. "We can't fight them head-on," he admitted. "Not yet." Sarah exhaled. "So what do we do?" Elias turned back to the display. "We lead them into a trap. The ambush." The asteroid field had been their battleground before, but now it was a hunting ground. The Council warships entered cautiously, their formations tight, their weapons fully charged. They expected an easy kill. They were wrong. Deploying decoys, Aegis announced. From the wreckage of the previous battle, dozens of disguised drones powered up, mimicking Aegis's energy signature. The Council ships locked onto them immediately, firing wildly into the debris field. They took the bait, Darius grinned. Sarah worked quickly, rerouting all available power into the ship's stealth systems. Engaging cloak in 3, 2, 1. The Aegis vanished. The kill shot. As the Council warships focused on the false signals, Elias prepared their counterattack. Now, he whispered. Aegis reappeared directly behind the largest Council warship, its weapons primed. Fire. The railguns ignited, tearing through the enemy's engines. The warship lurched forward, its systems failing. Before it could react, Aegis unleashed a full barrage, detonating its reactor in a violent explosion. One down. The chaos had begun. The asteroid field was ablaze with explosions as Aegis weaved through the chaos. The Council's fleet had fallen into their trap, but the battle was far from over. Enemy ships repositioning, the AI reported. They are adapting to our tactics. Elias gritted his teeth. They're learning faster than I expected. Sarah's fingers flew across the console. We need an escape route. We can't outgun 12 warships. Darius, ever the fighter, growled. Running won't stop them from coming after us again. Elias knew they were both right. They needed more than just survival. They needed to send a message that the Council wouldn't forget. The desperate plan. Aegis, analyze the asteroid field. Find me the largest unstable mass. The AI processed for mere seconds before responding. Asteroid Delta 9 is highly unstable. If detonated, it would create a gravitational collapse in this sector. Sarah's eyes widened. You want to drop a moon on them? Darius grinned. Now that's a plan I can get behind. Elias nodded. We don't have to destroy them all. We just need to make them afraid to chase us. The execution. As Aegis darted through the battlefield, Sarah overrode the ship's targeting system, locking onto Delta 9. Missiles armed, ready to fire on your command, the AI confirmed. The Council warships were closing in. Fire, Elias ordered. 4 high-yield torpedoes launched, streaking toward the asteroid's surface. Seconds later, a blinding explosion tore through the void. Cracks spread across Delta 9 as its core destabilized. The Council fleet hesitated. That was their mistake. The collapse. Gravitational anomaly forming. Aegis warned. The asteroid's remains began to implode, pulling debris, wreckage, and even the nearest Council warships into the vortex. 2 ships were caught instantly, their hulls crushed by the sheer force. Elias seized the opportunity. Engage warp drive. Now. Aegis powered up, breaking free from the battlefield just as the collapsing mass consumed everything nearby. As the ship vanished into hyperspace, Elias allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. Let's see if they still think we're just a broken ship. The war wasn't over. The Council's fleet had suffered a devastating loss, but Elias knew they wouldn't forget. Aegis was no longer just a repurposed wreck. It was a legend, a nightmare that haunted the Council's highest ranks. And now, they were coming for revenge. The message. Deep in the outer rim, Aegis floated silently in the shadow of a dying star. The crew had barely recovered from their last battle when the transmission arrived. Sarah's face paled as she read the decoded message. The Council has mobilized. They've declared us a galactic threat. Every fleet is hunting us. Darius smirked. Good, let them come. Elias exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. We started this fight by proving we weren't weak. Now we finish it by proving we are unstoppable. The ambush. The Council's armada arrived in force. 20 warships, armed with enough firepower to wipe out a planet, descended on Aegis' last known coordinates. But Aegis wasn't there. Instead, the Council ships detected an energy signature deep within a nearby nebula. A single distress beacon blinked weakly in the darkness. The fleet moved in. That was their second mistake. The counterattack. Hidden within the swirling gases, Aegis waited, cloaked and silent. As the enemy ships entered the nebula, Sarah activated the trap. Electromagnetic pulses detonated across the sector, disabling half the Council's fleet before they even knew what was happening. Their shields flickered, weapons failed, and confusion spread like wildfire. Then Aegis struck. Firing from the shadows, the ship moved like a ghost, its upgraded cannons tearing through the disoriented warships. One by one, the Council's fleet crumbled. But the flagship remained. The Council's supreme commander, Admiral Kalos, had survived. And he was furious. "You think a single ship can defy the entire Council?" Kalos snarled through the comms. "We will hunt you until the ends of the universe." Elias stared at the transmission, his expression cold. "Then you should have finished the job when you had the chance." The final blow. Aegis surged forward, dodging plasma fire as it closed the distance to the flagship. Kalos had the numbers, but Elias had something stronger: determination. The crew worked in perfect sync. Sarah launched hacking probes, disabling the flagship's engines. Darius fired a concentrated railgun shot, shattering their shields. And Elias gave the final order: "Fire everything." Missiles, plasma cannons, railguns. Aegis unleashed its full wrath. The Council flagship exploded in a blinding inferno, its debris scattering into the void. The remaining warships, leaderless and broken, fled into hyperspace. The battle was over. The legend of Aegis was sealed.